Good morning, everyone. It's Lindsey Huddleston with SPS back in the building with another SPS Monday Motivation. I'm excited. Had me some coffee already, man, so I'm feeling a certain kind of way. But hey, life is great. At it again, a little nippy this morning, but it's going to be okay. Hope you had a great weekend. It was rivalry weekend here in East Lansing. Yes, that's right. Michigan State versus Michigan. Had the pleasure of my mother and daughter being with me this weekend. Can't go wrong with that. Had a little grandmother-daughter time. No telling what they was talking about. But it was a great, great feeling. I came home excited after the game. My daughter was like, "You coming in all right? We ready to go to bed." But no, it was a great time. Hope you had a great time. So today's topic, as I say, I always pull from either the headlines or my personal life, and this is a personal story. And I get real personal with it as it relates to the kindness edge. Who is this morning? Can't go wrong with Michelle Mimi Watkins, the greatest, always on time, star on her forward head for perfect attendance. That's right, checking in. Michelle, I'm talking about the kindness edge. I'm going to tell you a story about what happened. It was been the game. Was this Thursday? It was the opening exhibition game for Michigan State basketball. Right, I'm talking about the kindness edge. And how kindness can be used as a competitive edge. Right now, mind you, a lot of us got our 7 Mile Detroit roots, and we'll talk about other aspects because this is not about being taken advantage of. But just listen to me. So let me tell you what happened. So, what was the moment? The moment was after a recent press conference. It was Bowling Green State University. Shout out to my guy, Tum Tum. Seeing a little report. I'm hoping you're not having any problem with that. Oh, okay. LinkedIn is having a problem. They'll be okay. Um, Tum Tum there, and but it was the head coach, Todd Simon. He was back, and they had a hard fought game. It really was a good game. They were fighting really hard, and they just couldn't pull it out. And I remember just talking to him as he left the podium. He was proud of his team. And Michelle, you're a coach. You know how that goes when you have a very strong opponent you're going against. Imagine, this is Bowling Green State, going up against Michigan State University, right? So as he was leaving the podium, Michelle, I noticed that he kind of had a smile. He kind of felt good. So off camera, off the microphone, I said, "Hey, you gonna keep that smile on your face?" And he kind of laughed. I said, "You gonna keep that smile on your face throughout the season?" And he kind of laughed. He said, a little banter, and that was it. Well, a few of my colleagues, they chuckled a little bit, but there's one in particular who's known for being very tough in media spaces, and he said in front of everybody, we're talking about, a media room with, 30 people, "Lindsey, you're so nice." And I said, okay, like, all right. But oddly enough, others agreed, it was genuine and it was actually kind of revealing because in that moment, my niceness stood out as in a very competitive environment and some very well respected members of the media. They said, "Yeah, Lindsey is nice." It was kind of like, yeah, and it wasn't like a backhanded compliment coming from him. And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." So, what am I getting at here? The insight I pulled from that is kindness isn't just politeness. Hey, how you doing? Whatnot. It's actually a reflection of emotional intelligence. When I did the research and I went a little deeper on this, the ability to recognize and regulate emotions in yourself and in others, because we can always be a certain kind of way. We can have a certain kind of, you know, um, layer to us and whatnot. But when you go deeper from a psychological standpoint, Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence theory highlights empathy and social awareness are keys to long-term success in leadership and performance. I'll read that again. The emotional intelligence theory highlights that empathy and social awareness are keys to long-term success in leadership and performance, right? So the psychology behind it, right? SPS, we're going to talk about the psychology. Research shows that kindness activates the prefrontal cortex. It's the area of the brain that's responsible for decision making, regulation, and empathy. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more because this is the important part, right? It also releases oxytocin, oxytocin. I say oxytocin. We're talking about that connection, hormone. It strengthens trust and rapport. So, along with being kind, you're getting a benefit from how it actually feels. It's kind of like a positive hormonal release with you being kind, right? Let's talk about the performance connection. And athletes and professionals, those who practice empathy and are And control, composure demonstrate higher resilience and better focus under stress. I didn't take advantage of the fact that this coach had lost, to a top team and kind of hammer him or take advantage of being behind the mic and being able to pretty much ask anything I want. I mean, I kind of was feeling him out and see what was going on, and it led to a positive exchange. Also, according to the Yerkes-Dodson law, optimal performance, which is very important, we all want optimal performance, that happens when there's moderate arousal and not high tension, right? Kindness help regulate that balance. So when you're extremely hyped, that doesn't necessarily put you in a position to have your optimal performance. That's why you see a lot of athletes before the games, they're trying to kind of chill out a little bit. I get the hype part, but being overly aroused can lead you to not be able to perform at your best. Let's talk about the leadership parallel, because it's not all about just being athletes on the floor or on the field, also in the corporate boardroom, in your organization, in your household, right? Whether on the court or business or in media, the best leaders project calm strength. You know what that's like. There's always concern about that person when there's a whole lot going on and they're calm. You're like, oh, you better watch out for them, right? We know about that. That's not just in movies. We see it in life. You don't have to shout to be heard. Their presence commands respect. That person that walks in the room and things change, for the positive or for the negative, but it's just saying it's not always about words. There's a line in the movie Goodfellas when Paul Santorini comes out and they're all playing around. He walks out and they say, hey, that's Paulie. He moves slow because he don't got to move slow for nobody. And that's a movie, but that's also in real life. Also, psychologist Carl Rogers called unconditional positive regard. This is called unconditional positive regard. The ability to respect others without judgment, even under pressure. Let me tell you something. Even the day of the football game, I had an experience that I don't have to really go into, but I later followed up, more strategically. But sometimes the best thing to do is be calm in a situation, not get overwhelmed. Got Chad in the building. Good morning, brother. Said thanks for the info, Lindsay. That's right, brother. That's right, man. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. All the best to you and the family too. What we're talking about here is kindness as an edge, right? But here's the misconception. Here's where people get it messed up. They get it twisted, right? People often mistake kindness for softness. Oh, man, you too nice. You too nice, as it's a negative. And being where I'm from, 7 Mile and Evergreen, me growing up in the late 80s and 90s in the area, sometimes that can eat you up. And I can think back to a lot of times in my childhood where being kind wasn't really it. But my whole point is I don't want you to lose sight that in psychology, true kindness is linked to that level of self-regulation, a hallmark of mental toughness. So even going back to the rough streets when you're growing up, it was the person that could command the space to say, listen, brother, hey, we don't want to go there. It's kind of like, trying to regulate the situation. And I don't want anyone to take this message to say you should be verbally abused, emotionally abused, or even physically abused by anyone. But I'm talking about how you can use kindness as an edge. That's what separates competitors from the professionals. What's really going to put you over the top, kind of managing the situation and being kind and how you approach it. And another thing too, I think what kindness also does, it gives you receipts. What do you mean by that, Lindsay? If you're having an interaction with someone and you're consistently being kind and they're consistently being out of order, over the top, that really gives you receipts to respond in a way going forward and say, you know what? Try to be calm, try to be nice, and they still did X, Y, Z. So if you're following up with something or dealing with something different, or in real time, you're saying, listen, despite my kindness, you're still being this way, it gives me an opportunity to potentially escalate if necessary, right? And I don't want to advocate anything about conflict and friction and violence, but what I'm just saying to you is I'm not telling people on this Monday motivation to go and be like sheep going over the cliff. But I'm saying you can take this perspective. It just gives you a little bit more of an edge in this world. And speaking of edge, you want to talk about the SPS edge, right? At Sports Psychology Solutions, SPS, I teach the athletes about, and the coaches and the professionals, that mental performance is just about intensity. It's about composure. It's about empathy. It's about control. It's about reading the room. It's about knowing your personnel, especially when you have athletes dealing with coaches dealing with players. You have to know these personalities and know how to respond, because as we know, everybody can't get the same kind of response and expect the same kind of outcome. Got Dwayne Willie here. Good morning, brother. Said good morning, good brother. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Glad you checking in. Oh, let me check the time, baby, because my man Dwayne said I need all them 15 minutes. Where we at right now? Okay, we got about 5 more minutes to rock, Dwayne. I got you, man. We're going to keep the quality control there. So what's the takeaway, right? The takeaway is this. Keep your smile this season, win or lose. Hey man, there's a lot going on, and particularly for the people that support my platform. Many of us have a similar plight and outlook towards the world. So there's a lot going on, man. A lot of people being out of order, man. A lot of people just being, downright nasty. But I'm saying use the kindness edge. You laugh. You laugh. Hey, I got you, baby. I got you, fam. Got my brother Ezra Bell, Grand Rising fam. I hope the fam is doing okay, getting the young man off to school, getting them going. They got a great dad representing all these guys on my timeline are great dads. Dwayne, Chad, Ezra as well, and a great mother and Michelle Mimi Watkins, and everyone else who may be listening to this later on. I know you guys are doing your absolute best, and that's great. Got Ezra Bell. He said, win or lose, we got to keep on moving. You got to, man. And then also, too, man, despite people being out of order, you really can't let them bring you down to where they're at because, along with that, people are struggling. There are a lot of challenges going on. My heart really goes out, and I just really want to emphasize that when we keep this smile, win or lose, like Ezra just echo, that's not weakness. This is psychological mastery, right? We're playing chess out here while these folks is playing checkers. You got to keep that in mind. Some people are dealing with a whole lot, not just with impending November 1st, where they talk about benefits are going to impact people in a negative way. It's all kind of stuff going on. Then also, too, what a time for this message as we approach November, Thanksgiving, a month out from Christmas, after Thanksgiving and New Year. This is the time where a lot of people are triggered, family. This is a time where a lot of people deal with their grief and their loss. So it's really imperative that you take this high road and use kindness as an edge and try to navigate through things and understand that people are going through a lot. And you're blessed if you have the mental capacity and the emotional intelligence to be able to recognize that. Yeah, I'm not for people being out of order and talking crazy or doing things that can harm you or your family. I'm not about that. I'm not supporting it. But I'm telling you, if you take the approach and use kindness as the edge, it'll make people look around like, man, my man really was tripping with how he responded to her. She really was out of order. And let karma and let society take care of that. And I think everybody on this timeline is bright enough and beyond intelligent enough to understand the timing and how it works. But it's a disposition. And then also that kindness, like we said, releasing those, hormones will give you what you need to feel good. You being kind helps you. It's a perspective. It's a choice. When you get out of bed this morning, you got to decide, okay, what's it going to be? And what I decide what it's going to be when you end this day, when this day wraps up. If you get out of bed and say, oh, it's going to be a horrible day, well, you're probably right. But if you get out of bed and say, despite everything that's going on, I'm going to use kindness as an edge. I'm just going to go out here and put out positive vibes, and the universe will respond in kind. And that's true. You put that energy out there, Dwayne, that energy is going to come back. And sometimes it may not come back from the places you expect. I really am a firm believer, when you start thinking about, even when you're dealing with a challenge that seems insurmountable, how am I going to get it? When you just start having positive thoughts, hey man, I'm just going to be positive about that. I think what that does is that's literally clearing the playing field for you. It opens up opportunities for opportunities to come in. And I on many occasions, on almost every occasion when I do that, an opportunity presents itself to allow me to overcome, whether it's something unexpected coming to me or it's the clarity of mind I get. See, kindness as an edge gives you clarity of mind because it takes a lot more effort to carry around a negative attitude, to be tense and ready to respond to someone in a negative way, despite what they're putting out. But if you have kindness at the edge, you're kind of floating a little bit. You're floating. Using kind of, hey man, how you doing? Hey, this is going on. And not just in words. We said it's not just being polite, but it's what you emanate, what your aura is, what comes from you. I think it's important to see that. Let's see, we got a visual of what that looks like, right? Kindness as an edge, worth sharing. Let's talk about kindness. So today, folks, I want you to be headed towards kindness. That's the exit you want to get off on today, kindness and what you can do. And we talk a little bit more about that. Kindness in the words creates confidence. Kindness is thinking, and thinking creates profoundness. Kindness and giving creates love. That's from Lao Tzu, But again, this is the exit I want you guys to be focused on today. I'm getting off on the kindness exit, and this is what you can put in your thoughts and go forward with it. And it can't hurt you. Let's use this kindness as to have a positive impact, not only on our lives, but the lives of others. Again, it's getting to be that season where people may not even know that they're emotionally triggered. They get down and we start losing the sunlight. We start losing the warmth, and it's just something that we have to prepare ourselves for. But all my folks, we're going to have the kindness edge. We're going to be ahead of the game. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready to wrap up. Brother Dwayne Whitley, man, I thank you for keeping me on task, but I thank everybody for checking in this morning. Michelle, Chad, Ezra, love you guys. Appreciate the support and have a great day. Have a great week. Have a great month. Have a great year. Have a great life. See you guys next time. Peace.